لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء، تفرد بالأولية والقدم، ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم، كما قال عز شانه: كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت، وقال: كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه معاصي العباد في الخلوات. سبحان الله الذي منه خليقة العباد وإليه المعاد. فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يرى ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يرى. نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه، يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء، ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء. تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفو تفضل. الحمد لله، الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتهدون. والحمد لله على رسول المسدد المحمود الأحمد بالقاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في كتاب المجيد والفرقان الحميد وقوله الحق: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقل رب أدخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق واجعل لي من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أما بعد، سلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. The ayat that I just read, you are all aware, but just for reference point, memorize 1780. 1780, Surah Bani Israel, Surah number 17, ayat number 80. We'll talk about it a bit later. All right, so remember this and memorize this one. We'll come back to that one. When we come into this world, we are all on a journey. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un, right? From Allah we come and to Him we shall return. And in this period, which is called our life, which can be 60, 70, 80, 100 years, whatever it might be that Allah chooses to keep us in this world, we need His assistance. Every step of the way, whether we admit it or not, we need His help. And to be able to get His help, Allah doesn't come and give off. He essentially brings mediums through which the help is granted. The dariya, as we call them, right? The assistant. So you need to find food for your family, so you go and find a job, right? You find a job, whatever job you find, your boss is the medium through which you are getting that. And he is getting his risk through the customers that he has. And likewise, it all turns around. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept the system. And we'll come back to that aspect of it. I'm just trying to develop some idea that we need to be aware that we need Allah's assistance first and foremost, and then He creates the dariya, the medium through which we help. And this ayat that I just read to you, it says, "O my Lord, Qul waqul, and say, O my Lord, Rabbi adkhilni mudkhala sidqin. O my Lord, let my entry be by the gate of truth and honor." Truth and honor is the highest criteria. That's where we want to enter through. And likewise, my exit by the gate of truth and honor. So when I leave, I also leave on that good scale. And grant me from your presence and authority to aid me. So we are asking Allah that, yes, you are the helper, but I need somebody to help me here in this world, right? Give me somebody that you have chosen. And tafasir tells us that is the wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for our purpose, it is the imam of our time. It is the imam of Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So the wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the ultimate authority that Allah has chosen to be able to guide us. We just celebrated the night of 15 Shabaan on Tuesday night, where the imam was 1,189 lunar years. Now, in previous times, I've already discussed how to prove that indeed this is possible, and this is not a fiction effect of our imagination or not. And the point that I want you to go home with is this idea of Mahdism, that a final savior will come, is common across all religions. It is common across all religions, whether it is Christianity, that the final savior will come. And as far as Muslims we are concerned, it is also in the Ahl Sunnah belief also. But the debate essentially is he born or yet to be born? That is the question, right? Our aqidah is very clear that the Imam is already here. It is not a concept. It is not a concept. You know, a concept, when people talk about the idea of Mahdism, they say it's a concept. What is a concept? What is an idea of a concept? A concept is that you have a dream in your mind, right? That if Allah blesses you with enough wealth or so, you will have, a 10-acre piece of land. You will build a 5,000 square foot house. You will have a swimming pool in the house, a basketball court outside. Whatever your heart desires, it's fine. It's okay to dream, and there is no HST on it either. So it's okay. Right? So dream as much as you want. There is no problem there whatsoever. That is a concept. If all the things fall into place, that is what you will aim for. Right? This is what a concept is. But for us, Mahdi is not a concept. He is a reality. He exists. He physically exists. And just one ayat and then we move forward. تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. On the night of Qadr, the angels come down to the earth with the amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is it? The orders are coming as to what will happen from this night of Qadr up to the next night. Who will live, who will die, this is what will happen, what will not happen. Everything comes down on that night. If the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the amr of Allah is coming down, there has to be a recipient of the orders, and that is the sahibul amr. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So that is the sahibul amr, the one who accepts these orders. Now, if there is no wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this earth, then these angels are coming every year and bouncing back and going, using the world as a trampoline and going back? No, it doesn't make any sense, right? Doesn't make any sense. So there is that proof. So the hadith tells us, if I'm not mistaken, it was Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam who says, every time you want to prove the existence of your Imam, use this ayat of night of Qadr, okay? We all know that the Imam would appear if we were ready for him. If we were ready for him, if the conditions are in place, he would appear. He would appear. But we have been doing this for 1100 years. We have been asking, وَعَجِّلْ فَرَجَهُمْ وَعَجِّلْ فَرَجَهُمْ. May Allah hasten his appearance. May Allah hasten his appearance. My question to myself first and to you is, do we know who he is? Alaikum salam. Do we know who he is? If he does appear, am I ready for him? Will I recognize him? Will I recognize him? Will I welcome him? Or what will I do? This is something that if the Imam knocks on my door, rings the bell, now I have the camera to see, right? So will I open the door and I see him outside? Will I say, no Jehovah's Witnesses? Don't bother me, yeah? Or no salespersons? Now they are not allowed to come, so they don't come, yeah? By the government law, they're not allowed to knock on doors, but others still do. And so on and so forth. The point first and foremost is, will we recognize him? And what will be our reaction? The homework for you and I tonight is, if the Imam knocks on my door, what will be my reaction? And if you have sleepless nights and you can't sleep tonight trying to answer that question, then I have succeeded in getting my message across. Right? I wish you and I to have sleepless nights to try and figure out what it is. The Imam, there are people that might be 5 in the family, for example, but they keep 6 chairs on the table, and they leave 1 empty, always, saying that that one is for the head of my family, who is the Imam of my time. Who is the Imam of my time? I leave that chair empty. The day he comes, that chair is available for him. Right? If the Imam asks me to give up everything that I have, will I be able to do that or not? So next time you say, وَعَجِّلْ فَرَجَهُمْ, understand what you are saying, why you are saying, are you ready for it or not? Right? Or we shall take him a Mawla, can I have a rain check 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 10 years from now? Come back later, I'm not quite ready for you. No. That is the question that we need to ask. So we all have the capacity to be able to be of assistance to him. And that's why we are asking for it, right? We are all asking for his to come, and we hope and we will get the honor of being able to be of assistance to him. So today I just want to discuss with you very briefly the caliber of the people that Imam appointed to be his deputies. You know, the Shias were being prepared for the ghaiba, right? The occultation, from the time of the 10th Imam. In the past, when people used to want to go and see the Imam, whoever it was, from the first Imam, or from the Prophet all the way to the 11th Imam, when they wanted to, they just went to Medina. And they went. So like, so that you and I can understand, when we all go for ziyarah, right? May Allah grant us another opportunity to go. And for those that have not gone, may Allah grant you as quickly as possible an opportunity to go, inshallah. When you go, you all want to visit Ayatollah Sistani, right? And we all make sure, one of the requirements with the group leader that we go with is that make an appointment. We want to see him, right? We may not understand his Farsi or so, but just looking at him is sufficient for many of us. It is sufficient for us. We see that there is something there. There is something. This person is not an ordinary person. That is why the Pope came all the way to Najaf. Yeah, all the way to Najaf, in those streets out there, with that broken, dilapidated house that he lives in. Yeah, but that's another story for another day, right? So we all go and visit. So up to the 10th Imam, people used to do that. Now, all of a sudden, and by the way, when people used to go in those old days, they wouldn't go alone. So if I went, I would take my sons with me, my children with me, and I would take my grandchildren with me. The idea is we are visiting the Imam of the time, so we want to try and maximize that and get everybody, as many of my family as possible, to go and visit. So 3 generations would normally come. Now the Imam suddenly, the 10th Imam, what he started doing is, some days he would meet you face to face like this. Some days he would drop a curtain and he would talk behind the curtain. So people like me would object and says, Mawla, why? I came to see you. My son is there, my grandson is there, right? They're coming there, they're seeing this one. For me, it's a big deal, because all my time I have seen him face to face. Now I'm seeing him behind a curtain. It is a problem for me. So I object. So Imam tells me, right? The Imam used to tell the people there that a time will come. A time is coming very quickly where you will not see your Imam. And when you do not see your Imam, do not say that the Imam does not exist. Yeah? Do not say that the Imam does not exist. I am training you for this particular purpose. Right? The ladies can relate to this much better than we men can. In the olden days, when there used to be majalises, the majlis would be read by, unless they had their own women's zakira or alima reciting the majlis, but if it was a man reciting, there used to be no TVs. They would only hear a sound. They would only hear the voice. We saw, if we were reversed, we would have a revolution, right? So we want to see the zakir who is reciting. So they are used to this idea. So now what happened is that I was there, I'm the first generation, I've always looked at the Imam, I cannot see him now, so it's a problem for me. For my son, it is a 50-50 way. So big deal. I can see him, I can't see him, no problem. My grandson, he's observing. To him, it's not an issue at all. Now comes the 11th Imam, right? And he is doing the same, but he's increasing the intensity of that one. And the same issues are there. Now I am gone. My son is there, my grandson, and my great-grandson is there. Now another 3 generations have come. Now comes the 12th Imam. Right? The 12th Imam goes into ghaiba. I am gone, my son is gone. Right? My grandson, who was the first one to experience this ability of not being able to see the Imam, he's okay with it, his son is okay with it, and his grandson is okay with it. So you see, the training was already put into place, and this is how the people got used to this idea that some days they will see the Imam. When the Imam comes and when they are not able to physically see him, the aqidah is very strong to say, yes, he is there. Whether I see him or not, it doesn't matter. It's just like the sun. Some days it is now raining and snowing out there. Do you say the sun is not there? The sun is there, right? And it is giving its advantages to all of us, whether we see it or not. This is the important thing to keep that in mind. Salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. So then from when the Imam went into ghaibat al-sughra, this was a period of 69 to 70 years. He went into ghaibat al-sughra, and this time he would be sometimes seen, sometimes not seen, right? Very little. But he appointed safirs or ambassadors or personal representatives, safir khas, right? These are specially appointed by the Imam. He appointed 1 after 4 of them in this period of 70 years. And the idea of appointing them was that it created an environment, because remember, 70 years is 3-4 generations. 3 or 4 generations of people out there. He created an environment where the people would get used to the idea, and also that there is a caliber of ulama being trained to be able to take over. In the past, you didn't, if you are able to travel, you went to Medina. But otherwise, the Imam would say, talk to this particular person in your city, he will be the one of assistance to you. What he says, I accept. So the Imam appointed 4 now, and I want to share with you the characteristics of these 4 people so that we understand that we can aspire to be like them also. They were not ulama per se, That's the first one was Abu Amr Uthman bin Sayyid al-Amri. He was the Nawab Khas, the first one, from 260 after Hijrah to 265 after Hijrah, for 5 years. He was the representative of the 10th Imam and also the 11th Imam. Now he had the honor of being the first representative of the 12th Imam in ghaibat al-sughra. He was also known as Samman, an oil merchant. His job was to sell oil. In the old days, there was no electricity. It was everything light, the lamps were there and you had to put oil in there, and his job was to essentially sell oil. So he would knock on each other's doors and supply the oil. And you would use the oil to light the candles or the furnace or whatever it is that you had to be able to have light in your house. And this is what he used to do. So when he became the first Khazi and he wanted to visit, now, of course, the eyes of the government were on him. So he did this business of his, and he would carry amongst his oil that he was carrying, one which would be empty with the funds and the letters and everything for the Imam, and he would drop by the Imam's house, share that with him, get replies to the answer, and move on with his job, right? And this was how he did that. The situation, remember, whenever you find yourself in difficult situations, you have to make adjustments. You make your adjustments to make sure that your work keeps on going, that nobody stops you, especially when it is Allah's work out there. And the 10th Imam and 11th Imam both attested to the trustworthiness of Uthman bin Sayyid al-Amri to the extent that they said, whatever he narrates on my behalf and his messages are actually my messages. Whatever he says, accept it as that I have said it. He was one of the few people who was introduced to the 12th Imam at his birth. Right? No, very few people knew of the birth of the 12th Imam. The first time the public knew of the birth of the 12th Imam and the existence of the 20th Imam was when the 11th Imam passed away. He was and when he passed away, his janazah was laid, and you know that the right to lead Salatul Janazah belongs to the eldest son. Huh? We ask the Maulana to do that out of courtesy. But if you observe, Maulana, before he leads the namaz, he will turn around to the wali of the family and says, do I have your permission? Right? Do I have your permission to recite the janazah? Right? So it is my right. If I want to do it myself, I can do it myself. Maulana or no Maulana, it doesn't matter. It is my right. But it is a courtesy and honor that we give to the alim of who is with us. So it was the time of the 11th Imam's janazah. Nobody knew of his son. So his brother Jaffer stepped forward to lead the Salatul Janazah. And as he stepped up, the door opened and a 4.5-year-old boy walked out, says, uncle, move away. This is my right. Move away. This is when even Jaffer knew that the now Imam had already a son. Jaffer's story is another story, but for another day, right? So this is how it was done. Then when Abu Amr Uthman bin Sayyid al-Amri passed away, Muhammad bin Uthman bin Sayyid al-Amri was appointed. He was the son of Abu Amr Uthman bin Sayyid al-Amri, and he received a letter of condolences from the Imam in which the Imam said. So when he passed away, when his father passed away, Imam sent him a letter of condolence. May Allah have mercy on him, your father, and count amongst him amongst his servants. He was always engrossed in their work. He always strove unceasingly in those works which elevated him in front of Allah and helped him gain proximity to the Imam. May Allah make him happy and forgive his sins. Now look at this, what Imam says. May Allah increase your rewards and accept your difficulties. You are grief-stricken because your father has passed away, so are we. Imam is saying, so are we. We are grief-stricken that he has passed away. His death has affected us as much as it has affected you. May Allah make him happier in that life. It was due to his sincerity and decency that he was honored with a son like you, who has become his heir and successor. May Allah send mercies upon him. See, that two persons to a family that the Imam is vouching for their character. One, the father, and two, the son. Right? Imam is saying, because your father was so sincere, he is blessed with a son like you, who we have chosen now to be our second representative. Right? This is number. So he was the one that basically was the naib for 40 years. Second Safir for 40 years. Then the third one was Abul Qasim al-Hussein bin Rawh al-Nawbakhti for 21 years. He was appointed the third Safir, much to the surprise of those around him. You know, in any group, when there is, say, let's take our Jamaat, for example, and we have members and we are, regulars and all that, and when it's times come for elections, we think this particular person should be elected, and contrary, we find somebody else is elected, right? So everybody's surprised that, no, but this guy was supposed to be the one. Why this one, right? So this happens. So what had happened was that the person that was expected, so the second Safir, he was on his deathbed, and the person who everybody expected to be his representative was seated by his right. Hussein bin Ruh was seated by his feet. And then he turns and says that the Imam has asked that the next representative after me is Abul Qasim al-Hussein bin Ruh. When everybody is expecting this man to be one, right? Egos come into play now. But look at the character of these companions of the Imam. This man stands up, I forget his name, he stands up, goes there, takes Abul Qasim al-Hussein bin Ruh's hand, brings him up there, right? And makes him sit on the right-hand side. He sits there, and then people afterwards ask him. And he replies, look at his reply. The Imams know better whom to appoint. I have debates with the opponents of Shiaism. If I knew the whereabouts of the Imam, it is possible that during a heated debate, I would give away his whereabouts. It is possible, he says. But Hussein bin Ruh is such a person that if you cut him into pieces, they will not tell you that the Imam is standing behind him. ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Yeah, he will not. This is the character of Hussein bin Rauh also. And when you drop the ariza, you are writing that, oh Hussein bin Rauh, you are referring to Hussein bin Rauh on the 15th Shabaan when you wrote the ariza. If you saw the English version, you will see that, oh Hussein bin Rauh, salamun alaikum, I bear witness that you died in the path of Allah, and hence you are alive and are sustained by Allah. I am addressing you in your life which you lead with Allah. This is my note and wishes to the master of the era, the 12th Imam. So please hand it over to him, for you are indeed trustworthy. Right? This is the third person. And the last one, and I will finish with this one, Ali bin Muhammad al-Thamari. He was the Safir for 3 years. During the last time, he received a letter from the Imam. Now look at their character, and look at the confidence that the Imam has in these persons that he has appointed. O Ali bin Muhammad al-Thamari, may Allah increase the rewards of your brothers on account of the difficulties borne by you. You will die within 6 days. Ask yourself, you go to the doctor and he tells you 6 days, my world will turn upside down. Right? I don't know what to do, what not to do. For 3-4 days, I'm totally lost. Right? But look at him. May Allah increase the reward. You will die within 6 days. Regulate your affairs and sum them up. Do not make a will to anybody. After you, this chain of special deputyship will end, and it will mark the beginning of the major occultation. Now I will appear on divine command, but that will be after a long time, when the hearts of the people will become hardened and the world will become full of injustice, tyranny, and oppression. Yes, there will be those who claim to be my special deputies. Whoever claims to consult me before the emergence of Sufyani and the heavenly voice, he is a deceiver and a liar. There is no power and strength except that of Allah, the Almighty High. So this was that, and now Imam goes into Ghaibat Kubra, which is the greater occultation, and that is why we say وَعَجِّلْ فَرَجَهُمْ. And I come back to what I said at the beginning. Be careful what you mean by when you say وَعَجِّلْ فَرَجَهُمْ. Are you ready for him? When he comes and knocks on your door, what will be your reaction? This is something that we need to think about, because we need to elevate ourselves to be of the likes of these special nawab that he has appointed on that particular period. Now was the time for the ulama to be able to guide us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqq wa tawasaw bis sabr. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahi hamdan kathira. Alhamdulillahi alladhi hadana lihadha wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla an hadana Allah. لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله عليه وآله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين وبضعة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلى الحسن المجتبى. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ما هي آثار البدع والطغيان هادم أبنية الشرك والنفاق حاصد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام ما اتصل الليالي والأيام. اللهم عجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه واغفل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يدي وتفضل على أمرائنا المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو الدرجات. اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أهل ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهل بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So the question that comes up is, what are our responsibilities during the ghaiba of the Imam? What are we expected to do? Remember, this ghaiba and the biggest requirement is intidar. Intidar means to expect. It is of a positive nature. It is of an active nature, not of a negative. Not to sit back and say, well, when Wajil Farajam, when he appears, we'll sort it out. No. It is to prepare the ground by preparing myself and the environment around me so that he is, when he comes, I am available and ready for him. When you go, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. These are some of the actions that we can do during this period. Allah will keep away all the difficulties which descend from the sky in the daytime if one gives sadaqah early in the morning. And Allah will keep away all the difficulties which will descend from the sky in the night if one gives sadaqah in the early hours of the night. So very important, this idea of giving sadaqah, right? Very, very important that you give it in the morning, early morning, and also at night also. It protects you and your family during that time. And when we go through the books, we realize that that the scholars have told us to constantly make sure that we are connected to our Imam. Give priority, Sheikh Sayyid ibn Tawus says, give priority the Imam's needs before asking your request. Donate sadaqah and do charity for his glorious being before you do for your own self or for your family, and offer supplications for him before remembering yours. In short, in all your good and recommended deeds, give priority to his pious and precious being, because this attracts the attention of the Imam towards you and will increase his generosity and kindness upon you. Right? Very, very important that we do. So the question comes is, does the Imam need all this from us? No, Imam doesn't need anything from us. It is for me to express that I love him, that I want to be of assistance to him, and this is what I need to do. Right? Imam himself says that pray for my early reappearance. Indeed, there is a salvation for you. If you, in whatever you do, have this intention that I want to be the best in whatever I do. You are a doctor, you are an engineer, you are an accountant, you are a lawyer, you are a sweeper, you are a cleaner. Whatever job you do, it doesn't really matter. As long as it is halal, it doesn't really matter. Right? The society might put down their own categories of what should be the first, and also it doesn't really matter. As long as the income you are earning is halal, there is no shame in it at all. There is no shame in it. Do whatever you do, but do it with the best of your ability, with the intention that if the Imam needs me, I shall be of service to him. When you want to be able, because when he comes, he's going to need help, right? He's going to need help. And if he needs help, then he will count upon us. He is going to look at the best persons within the community and ask them to come to be of assistance to him. Right? And if you are the best in your field, never do it for money, by the way. Never do it for money. That's a very short-sighted view. Do it to serve him. And when you do it to serve him, you will aspire to be the best you possibly can. And when you aspire to be the best, because you are the best, the money will come after you. You don't have to go for the money will come after you. So it's a win-win, double win situation up here. Make sure in whatever you do and be of assistance to him. Imam As-Sadiq alayhi salam says, "Kunu lana shayna, kunu lana zayna, wala takunu alayna shayna." Right? That be a source of pride for us and not a source of disgrace for us. Because when you behave good, people will ask, who is this follower of? Who is this follower of? Right? right? Anytime a Muslim does something, the whole religion of Islam is brandished. We all know that, right? So we need to elevate ourselves. And Imam Sadiq also says, anyone who dies with the love of the wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt while awaiting for the appearance of the Qaim resembles the one who will be in the Qaim's tent. Very, very important. So in summary, what I have for you and the message that I have for you is twofold. One, in whatever you do, change your niyyah from this, that I am doing this to be able to be of service to my Imam. Whatever you do. It doesn't really matter. You serve tea, you want to serve the best way. You want to wash, the washrooms and so, that's fine. It doesn't matter whatever you do. Do it to serve him, one. Two, think about that if the Imam knocks on my door, what will be my reaction? Right? How will I be? Will I be of service to him, or will I ask for a rain check from him? One final thing, just to give you an analogy, to get there was an alim who was very well versed with he was a very spiritual guy. So another alim had come to him and asked him for assistance in meeting the Imam. So he gave him this amal, that this first ayat that we read, Rabbi adkhilni mudkhala sidqin wa akhrijni mukhraja sidqin waj'alni min ladunka sultanan nasira, right? 17 ayat 80. Right? If you do one tasbih every day for 40 days, inshallah, you will meet the Imam. If you do it with sincerity, inshallah, you will. Whether you recognize him or not is another story. Right? So this alim did that, and he didn't see the Imam. And a few more days passed, he did all that, didn't see the Imam, and he went to visit this other alim who had recommended this to him. And he said, I did all this, and nothing happened. So he said, let me think about it. After a while, he says, remember you were seated in the masjid one day, and you were wearing this aqiq ring on your left finger, right? He says, yes. And somebody came to you and said, it is makruh to wear it on your left finger, you should wear it on your right finger, right? He says, yes. And you argued with him and said, it is makruh, it is not haram. He says, yes. He says, that was your Imam. That was your Imam. Can you imagine that he argued with the Imam of the time? Right? He got his requirement, his desire. And there are many, many, many examples like that. Inshallah, next week when I come back, I will share some more with you to guide that. But the point is, yes, it is possible to meet the Imam. Whether we recognize him or not, may Allah elevate our status and give us that tawfiq to be able to recognize him and to be of assistance to him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on this auspicious day of the Jum'ah, may Allah grant those that have passed away maghfirah, those that are sick shifa, those that are distressed in whatever part of the world that they may be, grant them quick relief from their troubles. May Allah hasten the appearance of the Imam and give us the tawfiq to recognize him and to be of assistance to him. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan wa ita'i القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اللهم صل